The crystal spires of Nexus Prime stretched toward the stars like frozen lightning. Inside the tallest tower, 12 beings from across the galaxy sat in a perfect circle. Each one represented their species in the Galactic Council. They had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. Council Speaker Velthara floated above her crystal seat. Her body was made of pure thought and energy. She could read minds across star systems. Next to her sat Counselor Zexmind, whose metal body housed 1,000,000 connected minds. The other council members were equally impressive. Some were older than entire solar systems. Today, they would decide the fate of a small blue planet called Earth. Ambassador Jiwoo Park walked into the chamber with steady steps. Behind her came Kang Do-yun, a tall man in a dark military uniform. Next to him walked Somin Lee, carrying a case full of Earth's greatest discoveries. They were humanity's best representatives. Jiwoo looked up at the towering aliens around her. She had practiced this moment 1,000 times. Everything depended on the next few minutes. Honored Council, Jiwoo began, her voice clear and strong. I am Ambassador Park, speaking for the planet Earth and the human species. We come before you today to request membership in the Galactic Council. A sound like grinding metal came from Zek's mind. It was laughter. Several other council members made similar noises. Only Velthara remained silent, her energy form pulsing. With amusement, human, Velthara's voice echoed in their minds without sound. Your species has existed for less than 1,000,000 years. You have barely left your home system. What makes you think you belong among us? Jiwoo had expected this question. We may be young, but we have achieved much in our short time. We have ended wars on our planet. We have cured diseases that killed millions. We have learned to work together despite our differences. Councillor Thexval of the Hegemony spoke next. His voice was like grinding gears. You still use physical matter? For your technology. You still inhabit biological bodies. You are primitives playing with toys. Somin Lee stepped forward. She opened her case and pulled out a small device. This is a quantum processor that can solve problems in seconds that would take your computers hours. It uses biological components, working with quantum fields. The luminary representative, a being of pure energy contained in a crystal shell, flickered with what might have been laughter. Child, we mastered quantum computing when your sun was still forming. What you show us is like a cave painting to an artist. Kang Do-yun watched the exchange with careful eyes. He was not here to speak. He was here to observe. Every detail of this chamber was being recorded. Every weakness was being noted. Perhaps, said Velthara, you could demonstrate your greatest achievement. Show us something that would impress beings who have lived for millions of years. Somin activated another device. A hologram appeared showing Earth's medical advances. Humans living to 200 years. Diseases being cured by rewriting genetic code. Injured people growing new limbs. Impressive, admitted Councillor Yilkar of the Nest, Builders. For primitives, you have learned to extend your brief lives, said Zexmind. We have learned to transfer our consciousness between bodies. We are immortal. Your achievements are the desperate struggles of mayflies trying to live one more day. The dismissal in their voices was clear. Jiwoo felt anger building inside her, but she kept her face calm. This was exactly what they had expected. What about our space technology? Jiwoo asked. We have colonized Mars and the asteroid belt. One system, laughed Thexaval. We rule 1,000 systems each. Your entire species lives on a handful of rocks circling one ordinary star. But we got there in less than a century, Somin pointed out. From first flight to Mars colonies in just 100 years. Speed born of desperation, said the crystalline being representing the architects. When you have forever, you learn patience. You learn to build things that last. Kang Do-hyun shifted slightly. His enhanced memory was recording every word. The council's arrogance was complete. They saw humans as amusing pets at best. Velthara rose higher above her seat. Humans of Earth, the council has heard your request. We will now vote on your membership application. The vote was swift. 12 voices saying no. Not a single yes. Not even abstention. Complete rejection. However, Velthara continued, the Council is not without mercy. We offer you protectorate status. You will be placed under our protection. Your world will be preserved as a nature reserve. Your species will be studied and cared for. The meaning was clear. Humans would become exhibits in a zoo, protected but powerless. Studied like animals. Jiwoo Park had prepared for this moment her entire career. She straightened her shoulders and looked directly at Velthara. The human species thanks the Council for this offer, she said with perfect politeness. However, we must respectfully decline. We prefer to make our own way in the galaxy. The Council chamber fell silent. In thousands of years, no species had ever refused their protection. Refusing the Council meant facing the galaxy alone. Fascinating, whispered Zek's mind. The primitives choose independence over safety. Your choice, said Velthara. But understand, this humans. The galaxy is vast and dangerous. Ancient powers move between the stars. There are threats that would erase your entire species without notice. Under our protection, you would be safe. We understand the risks, Jiwoo replied. But we also understand the price of safety without freedom. Thexval's mechanical voice carried amusement. What could you possibly do alone? You have no allies, no advanced weapons, no knowledge of galactic politics. You are children playing in a universe of giants. Perhaps, said Jiwoo, but children grow up. The Council members exchanged glances. Some seemed amused by human stubbornness. Others appeared annoyed that their generous offer had been refused. Very well, said Velthara. You may go. Return to your little world. Play with your quantum toys and your genetic medicine. When you realize how small you truly are, perhaps you will reconsider our offer. The human delegation was escorted from the chamber. As they walked through the crystal corridors of Nexus Prime, none of them spoke. They had expected rejection. They had planned for it. Behind them in the council chamber, the real discussion began. Amusing creatures, said Yilkar. Did you sense their emotions? Such primitive responses. Fear mixed with determination, agreed Velthara. They know they are outmatched, but they refuse to admit it. The tall one with the military bearing, observed Zek's mind. He was not here to negotiate. He was gathering intelligence. Let him, laughed Thexval. What could primitives do with information about our defenses? They have no weapons that could threaten us. Still, said the Luminary representative, their technology shows unusual approaches, combining biological and quantum systems in ways we abandoned eons ago. Crude attempts, dismissed the architect. They use matter because they cannot transcend it. They cling to biological forms because they fear death. Everything about them screams primitive. Velthara pulsed with agreement. Indeed, they are just humans. A young species with delusions of importance. They will learn their place in time. Or be destroyed by the first real threat they encounter, added Zek's mind. The galaxy does not suffer fools gladly. Should we monitor them? Asked Yilkar. Why waste resources? Replied Thexval. They will either accept our protection eventually, or remove themselves from consideration through their own ignorance. Either outcome serves our purposes. The council moved on to other business. Trade disputes between ancient civilizations, border conflicts that had lasted millennia, the concerns of species older than human recorded history. The brief appearance of 3 humans was quickly forgotten. They were just humans, after all. What threat could they possibly pose to beings who had ruled the galaxy since before Earth's continents had formed? Meanwhile, aboard their small transport ship leaving Nexus Prime, the human delegation maintained careful silence. The ship's hull had been modified to block most forms of surveillance, but they took no chances. Only when they reached the edge of council space did Jiwoo finally speak. Report, she said simply. Kang Do-yun activated a complex device that would scramble any remaining listening equipment. Complete arrogance. No security protocols for physical threats. Their entire defense system is based on energy weapons and shields designed to stop other energy-based attacks. Soman Lee nodded grimly. Their technology is incredibly advanced, but completely specialized. They have forgotten how to adapt. Everything they build has been the same for thousands of years. Their psychological profiles? Asked Jiwoo. Predictable, replied Kang. They think in patterns that have not changed for millennia. They cannot imagine threats that do not fit their expectations. Jiwoo allowed herself a small smile. Then the plan proceeds as expected. They dismissed us as just humans. That gives us exactly the advantage we need. The transport ship jumped to faster than light speed, carrying them back toward the small blue planet that the Council had just made the mistake of underestimating. Behind them, Nexus Prime continued its ancient routines. The Council members returned to their palaces and energy constructs, secure in the knowledge that they had dealt with another minor annoyance. None of them noticed the small monitoring devices that Kang Do-yun had left behind. Devices built with the primitive combination of matter and energy that the Council had mocked. 5 years had passed since the rejection at Nexus Prime. The solar system looked the same from the outside, but everything had changed. Fleet Admiral Minho Kim stood on the observation deck of Titan Station, watching the final touches being applied to humanity's greatest secret. Below him stretched the largest shipyard ever built, hidden beneath the icy surface of Saturn's moon. Thousands of workers moved like ants across the hulls of vessels that should not have existed. "Admiral," came a voice behind him. Minho turned to see Hyerin Choi approaching. She was the director of advanced weapons research, the woman who had made the impossible possible. In 5 short years, she had taken humanity's technology from primitive to revolutionary. "Dr. Choi," Minho nodded. "How are the final tests proceeding?" "Better than expected," she replied, joining him at the window. "The hybrid drive systems are performing at 127% of projections. The matter-energy conversion weapons are ready for deployment. The Council will not recognize what they are facing." Minho smiled grimly. The Council's dismissal of human technology as primitive had been their first mistake. Humans did use matter-based systems, but not because they could not transcend them. They used matter because they understood something the ancient species had forgotten. Matter and energy were not separate things to be chosen between. They were 2 aspects of the same reality. Human technology did not abandon matter for energy, or energy for matter. It used both seamlessly in ways that pure energy beings like the Council could not predict or counter. "What about intelligence gathering?" Minho asked. "Jaewon should be arriving soon," Hyerin said. "His mission was successful." As if summoned by her words, the station's communication system activated. "Admiral Kim to Command Center immediately. Priority 1 intelligence briefing." Minho made his way through the station's corridors. 5 years ago, Titan Station had been a simple mining outpost. Now it was the command center for humanity's largest military operation. The transformation had been hidden from Council surveillance by the same technology they mocked as primitive. In the command center, Jae-won-yoon waited with a collection of data crystals and holographic displays. As head of intelligence operations, Jae-won had spent 5 years infiltrating Council space, learning their secrets, mapping their weaknesses. "Report," Minho said simply. Jae-won activated the displays. Star maps filled the air, showing Council, fleet positions, defensive installations, communication networks. "The Council's military has not changed in over 10,000 years. Same ships, same weapons, same tactics. They have grown completely predictable." "Numbers?" asked Hyerin. "Overwhelming. If you measure by traditional standards," Jae-won replied. "They can field over 2 million vessels if they mobilize their full strength. Each ship is individually more powerful than anything humanity has built before." Minho nodded. This was expected. But they think in patterns that have not changed. For millennia, their ships are designed to fight other energy-based civilizations. Their shields stop energy weapons. Their sensors detect energy signatures. Their tactics assume their enemies will behave logically. Jaewon pulled up detailed scans of Council vessels. More importantly, their entire civilization is based on the assumption that matter-based technology is inferior. They have no defenses against weapons that shift between matter and energy states. They cannot predict the behavior of enemies who use emotion and intuition along with logic. The briefing continued for hours. Jaewon had done more than gather intelligence. He had identified the fundamental weakness in Council thinking. They had become so advanced, so removed from physical existence, that they had forgotten the lessons that made survival possible. "There's something else," Jaewon said as the briefing wound down. "I was not the only human operating in Council space." The command center fell silent. "Explain," said Minho. "Hyunji Han," Jaewon said, displaying a photograph of a young woman with distinctly human features but something different about her eyes. "She has been working inside Council intelligence for 3 years. Officially, she is a member of a client species from the Rim worlds. In reality, she is human, but with modifications." "What kind of modifications?" asked Hiren. "Genetic alterations that allow her to interface directly with Council technology. Enhanced neural processing that lets her think like them while remaining human. She has been feeding us information from inside their most secure facilities." Minho studied the photograph. "Can we trust her?" "She volunteered for the modifications," Jaewon explained. "She knew the risks. The process was experimental. She might have lost her humanity completely, but she remained loyal to our cause throughout the infiltration." A communication panel activated, interrupting their discussion. "Admiral Kim, please report to Shipyard 7. The final vessel is ready for inspection." Minho, Hierin, and Jaewon made their way to the shipyard. The sight that greeted them was breathtaking. 50,000 vessels of various sizes filled the hidden docks. Fighters, cruisers, destroyers, and massive dreadnoughts that had never existed in human imagination 5 years earlier. Taemin Jung, humanity's chief engineer, was waiting for them beside the largest ship. The vessel was enormous, but it did not look like traditional spaceships. Its hull seemed to shift between solid matter and flowing energy, as if it could not decide what it wanted to be. "Admiral," Taemin said with pride, "I present the flagship of humanity's Armada, the Indomitable Will." Minho walked around the ship, studying its impossible design. "Explain how this works." Taemin activated a control panel. The ship's hull became transparent, revealing the interior systems. Traditional ships are either matter-based or energy-based. This ship is both. Its hull can shift between states depending on what kind of attack it faces. Its weapons can fire physical projectiles, energy beams, or hybrid charges that the enemy cannot predict. "The real breakthrough," added Hierin, "is the consciousness interface. Human pilots can partially merge their minds with the ship's systems without losing their humanity. This gives them response times and tactical flexibility that no purely logical system can match." Jaewon studied the technical displays. The Council's sensors will not know what they are looking at. Their computers cannot classify weapons that change their fundamental nature during flight. "How many ships are ready?" asked Minho. "All 50,000, replied Taemin. "Different sizes, different roles, but all built on the same hybrid principles. We have fighters that can phase through energy shields, destroyers that can become pure energy to avoid physical attacks, and dreadnoughts that can convert matter directly into devastating weapons." Minho felt a surge of pride. 5 years ago, humanity had been dismissed as primitives. Now they commanded a fleet that used principles the Council had forgotten existed. "What about crews?" he asked. 2 million volunteers, said Jaewon. "Every person has been trained in combat, but more importantly, they have been trained to think unpredictably. The Council's strategic computers will not be able to predict their actions." A new voice joined the conversation. "Actually, that number is slightly higher now." They turned to see a woman approaching. She looked human, but her eyes held depths that seemed impossible. This was Yoonji Han, returned from her deep infiltration of Council space. "Agent Han," Minho said formally. "Your report?" "The Council remains completely unaware of human preparations," she said. They believe humanity is still confined to Earth and Mars, struggling with primitive technology. Their intelligence services have not detected any of our operations. How is that possible? Asked Hiren. Surely some of our activities should have been noticed. Yunji smiled, and for a moment her modified eyes seemed to glow. The Council's surveillance systems are designed to detect energy signatures and logical patterns. Our hybrid technology produces neither. Our human unpredictability makes our activities seem random to their analysis systems. What about their military strength? Asked Jaewon. Exactly as you predicted, Yunji replied. Overwhelming in traditional terms, but completely unprepared for asymmetric warfare. They have not fought a real war in thousands of years. Their commanders learn from simulations and theoretical studies, not actual combat. Minho turned back to study the fleet before him. 50,000 ships that should not exist, crewed by 2 million humans who had been dismissed as primitives. It was either humanity's greatest triumph or its final folly. There is one more thing, said Yunji quietly. During my time in Council space, I discovered why they were so quick to dismiss humanity. Explain. They are afraid, she said simply. Not consciously, but deep in their ancient minds they remember something. Long ago, when they were first establishing their control over the galaxy, they encountered another species that combined matter and energy technology. That species nearly defeated them. What happened to them? Asked Hiren. The Council destroyed them completely, erased them from galactic records. But they never forgot the fear those enemies inspired. When they saw human technology combining matter and energy, it triggered ancestral memories they did not understand. Minho absorbed this information. So they dismissed us not just from arrogance, but from fear. Unconscious fear, Yunji confirmed. They convinced themselves we were primitive because the alternative was admitting we might be dangerous. The group stood in silence, watching the Captain Saiwan-O was conducting routine patrol duty in the neutral zone when his ship's sensors began screaming warnings. The Eternal Dawn, a reconnaissance vessel designed for stealth operations, had detected something impossible. Captain, called his sensor operator, I'm reading massive gravitational anomalies approaching Council space. The signatures are unlike anything in our databases. Saiwan moved to the sensor station. What he saw made his breath catch. Space itself was bending, around something enormous moving toward the galaxy's core. Not one something, thousands of somethings. Get me a full scan, he ordered. I need to know what we're looking at. The Eternal Dawn's sensors were among humanity's most advanced. They could detect objects across multiple dimensions, see through most cloaking systems, and analyze matter-energy combinations that confused traditional scanners. What they revealed defied understanding. Sir, the operator said quietly, I'm reading 50,000 vessels, all human design, all equipped with hybrid matter-energy drives. They're moving in formation toward Council space. Saiwan felt his heart race. 50,000 ships meant only one thing. The Armada was moving. After 5 years of preparation, humanity was finally making its play for recognition. Send a coded message to Earth Command, he ordered. Priority Alpha. Tell them the birds have left the nest. Meanwhile, on Nexus Prime, the Council's most secure communication center received an incoming transmission. The message was brief and encrypted with codes that should not have existed. Ariam Bay, working as a junior technician in the communication center, decoded the message and read its contents. Her face remained perfectly calm despite the excitement building inside her. After 3 years of deep cover, her moment had finally arrived. The message was simple. They're coming. Ariam finished her shift with normal efficiency. She performed her duties exactly as expected, filed her reports properly, and said goodbye to her colleagues with friendly smiles. Nothing about her behavior suggested that she had just received the most important intelligence of her life. That evening, she activated a communication device hidden in her apartment. The device used human technology that the Council's surveillance systems could not detect. She sent a single word back to the source of the message, confirmed. The next morning, alarms began sounding across Council space. Reports flooded in from frontier outposts, trade stations, and patrol vessels. Something massive was approaching. From the outer rim. Council Speaker Velthera materialized in the emergency session chamber, her energy form pulsing with irritation. Around her, the other council members appeared in various states of confusion and anger. "What is the meaning of these reports?" she demanded. "My advisors claim there is a fleet approaching our space. A human fleet." Councillor Zexmine's mechanical voice carried disbelief. "The reports must be in error. Humans lack the capability to field more than a few dozen primitive vessels. They certainly cannot threaten council space." Thexval of the hegemony accessed the latest intelligence reports directly into his consciousness. His reaction was immediate and violent. "The reports are accurate. Long-range sensors confirm 50,000 vessels moving in perfect formation. Energy signatures match human technology, but enhanced beyond our projections." "Impossible," declared the luminary representative. "We observed their technology 5 years ago. They were barely capable of interplanetary travel. They could not have developed such capabilities so quickly." Velthera reviewed the sensor data herself. What she found disturbed her more than she wanted to admit. The ships do not match any known configuration. They appear to be using matter-energy hybrid systems that our computers cannot properly classify. "Primitive. Confusion," scoffed Yilkar. "Their technology is so crude that it confuses our advanced sensors. This is not a threat. It is an annoyance." But even as the council members dismissed the threat, more reports arrived. The human fleet was not trying to hide. They were broadcasting on all frequencies, making no attempt at stealth. They wanted to be seen. Then the message came. Every communication system in council space received it simultaneously. Every language, every frequency, every method of information transmission the council used. The message was brief and clear. "People of the galaxy," the voice said in perfect council standard, "this is Fleet Admiral Minho Kim of the Human Armada. 5 years ago, your leaders called us just humans and offered us a cage. We politely declined. Now we offer you a choice. Recognize humanity as an equal member of this council, or discover why evolution never stopped making us more dangerous." The transmission included visual data showing the human fleet in perfect formation. 50,000 vessels of impossible design, moving with precision that defied council understanding of human capabilities. But the message was not sent only to the council. It was broadcast throughout the galaxy. Every species, every world, every space station received the same transmission. Humanity was not just challenging the council. They were offering an alternative to every species that had ever chafed under council rule. Velthara's energy form flickered with rage. How dare they broadcast without authorization? How dare they threaten the established order? More concerning, said Zek's mind, is their technology. These ships should not exist. Human industry 5 years ago could not have produced even one such vessel, let alone 50,000. Thexval accessed tactical databases. Our enforcement fleets can destroy them. Numbers mean nothing against council technology. Do they? Asked a new voice. The council members turned to see Councillor Kethara of the Observers. Rarely spoke in council sessions. When she did, others listened. Explain, demanded Velthera. I have been studying the sensor data, Kethara said quietly. These human ships do not behave like matter-based technology. They do not behave like energy-based technology. They behave like both simultaneously. Meaningless, dismissed Yilkar. Technology is either matter or energy. There is no third option. That is what we have believed for millions of years, Kethara replied. But what if we were wrong? What if the humans have rediscovered something we forgot? Before the council could respond, a new report arrived. The human fleet had stopped at the edge of council space. They were not advancing. They were waiting. Waiting. For what? Asked the luminary representative. Their answer came quickly. Council sensors detected the approach of their own enforcement fleet. War Coordinator Thexval had mobilized 500,000 vessels, the largest military force in galactic history. The response to humanity's challenge was about to begin. Aboard the flagship Indomitable Will, Fleet Admiral Minho Kim studied tactical displays showing both fleets. His bridge crew worked with calm, efficiency, but he could sense their tension. They were about to face enemies who outnumbered them 10-1. Admiral, called Unipark, his tactical coordinator. Enemy fleet approaching. Estimated time to weapons range, 4 hours. Signal all ships, Minho ordered. Battle formation Alpha. Prepare for asymmetric engagement. Throughout the human fleet, captains received their orders. This would not be a traditional battle. Humanity could not win through superior firepower or numbers. They would win through unpredictability, adaptability, and the one advantage the Council had never faced. They would fight like humans. The news of the approaching confrontation spread throughout the galaxy faster than light. Species that had never dared challenge Council authority watched their communication screens with fascination. For the first time in thousands of years, someone was standing up to the galactic overlords. On 1,000 worlds, beings who had accepted Council dominance, as natural law began to whisper among themselves. If humans could challenge the Council, perhaps change was possible. Perhaps the ancient order was not as permanent as it seemed. In the deepest archives of the galaxy, automated systems began searching through records that had not been accessed for millennia. Ancient files about a species that had once threatened Council supremacy. Files that had been buried and forgotten. The systems found references to beings who combined matter and energy in ways the Council had thought impossible. Beings who fought with unpredictable tactics that defied logical analysis. Beings who had been destroyed only through overwhelming force and careful genocide. The files were fragmentary, damaged by age and deliberate editing. But they contained one phrase that now seemed prophetic. They do not fight like civilized beings. They fight like survivors. Back in the present, the two fleets approached each other across the void. On one side, the ancient might of galactic civilization. On the other, the newcomers who refused to accept their assigned place in the hierarchy. War Coordinator, Thexval commanded the Council fleet from his flagship, a vessel larger than most human cities. Around him, his staff prepared for what they assumed would be a brief demonstration of Council superiority. Deploy standard battle formation. He ordered. We will destroy the human fleet quickly and decisively. Let this be a lesson to any other species considering rebellion. But Fleet Admiral Minho Kim had no intention of fighting a standard battle. As the fleets closed toward engagement range, he gave orders that would have confused traditional military strategists. All ships implement chaos protocol, he commanded. Remember, we are not here to fight logically. We are here to fight like humans. The galaxy held its breath. Ancient powers moved toward. The Kepler expanse stretched between the two fleets like a graveyard of broken stars. Stellar debris from ancient supernovas drifted in chaotic patterns, creating gravitational anomalies that could crush unwary ships or fling them into unexpected dimensions. War Coordinator Thexval had chosen this location deliberately. The Council's massive fleet needed clear space to demonstrate their overwhelming superiority. The debris field would limit the humans' ability to use whatever tricks they might attempt. He had not considered that humans might be more comfortable in chaos than in order. Fleet Admiral Minho Kim stood on the bridge of the Indomitable Will, watching tactical displays that showed both fleets positioning for battle. Around him, his staff worked with the focused intensity of people who knew they faced impossible odds. Enemy formation analysis? He asked. Unipark, his tactical coordinator, highlighted the enemy positions on the main display. Standard Council, battle formation. Heavy dreadnoughts in the center, medium cruisers on the flanks, fighters providing screening. Exactly what we expected from their tactical manuals. They are fighting the last war, observed Seojin Lee, commander of the Vanguard, assault group. Same formation, same strategies they have used for thousands of years. Which gives us our advantage, Minho replied. He activated fleet communications. All ships implement dispersal pattern Omega. Remember, we are not trying to outmuscle them. We are trying to outthink them. The human fleet began to break apart. Instead of maintaining traditional battle formations, the ships scattered in patterns that seemed random to Council observers. Some headed directly into the debris field. Others began complex spiraling motions that served no obvious tactical purpose. Aboard the Council flagship, Thexval watched the human dispersal with mechanical satisfaction. They are panicking. Their formation is collapsing before we even engage. His tactical officer, a being of pure energy interfacing with the ship's systems, agreed. Their movements follow no logical pattern. They appear to be fleeing in random directions. Signal the fleet, Thexval ordered. Advance to engagement range. We will destroy them ship by ship as they scatter. But the Council's advance triggered the first human surprise. As their massive vessels moved into the debris field, the scattered human ships suddenly became visible on sensors where none had been detected before. Jisoo Choi, commanding the stealth wing, smiled grimly as her ships decloaked around the Council formation. Her vessels had been hidden not by advanced technology, but by thinking like prey animals. They had positioned themselves where logical minds would never think to look. All stealth units engage targets of opportunity, she ordered. Hit and fade. Make them afraid of the shadows. The first Council ships to die never knew what hit them. Human vessels appeared from behind debris fields, fired weapons that shifted between matter and energy states during flight, then vanished again before return fire could reach them. Impossible, Thexval's energy officer reported. The humans are using the debris field as cover, but their ships should not be able to navigate those gravitational anomalies. Recalculate their positions, Thexval ordered. Deploy sensors to track all possible hiding spots. But human ships were not hiding in possible spots. They were hiding in impossible spots, using hybrid technology to phase partially out of normal space while still maintaining combat capability. The real battle began when the Council fleet tried to pursue individual human vessels into the debris field. Their massive ships, designed for open space combat, became clumsy and vulnerable among the stellar wreckage. Captain Dong-hyuk Nam commanded one of humanity's smallest vessels, a ship barely larger than a Council fighter. When 3 Council cruisers cornered him against a collapsed neutron star, conventional tactics would have demanded surrender or retreat. Instead, Dong-hyuk did something no logical mind would attempt. He flew directly into the neutron star's gravity, while using his ship's matter-energy conversion systems to surf the intense gravitational fields. "Sir," his navigator called out, "the gravitational stress will tear us apart." "Not if we stop being matter," Dong-hyuk replied calmly. He activated systems that the Council thought were impossible. His ship's hull became pure energy, allowing it to slide through gravitational forces that would crush physical matter. The pursuing Council ships, unable to make such transitions, found themselves caught in the neutron star's grip. 2 were destroyed immediately. The third barely escaped, but its crew was too disoriented to continue the pursuit. Similar scenes played out across the battlefield. Human commanders made decisions that violated every principle of logical warfare, and somehow those decisions worked. Sun-hee Yang, the Armada's chief strategist, coordinated the chaos from the command ship. Her role was not to control the battle, but to ensure that human unpredictability remained truly unpredictable. "Council tactical computers are trying to find patterns in our movements," she reported to Admiral Kim. "Every time they identify a potential strategy, I'm ordering random changes to prevent them from adapting." "Casualty reports?" Kim asked. Surprisingly, light. The Council's weapons are designed to counter logical defenses. Our chaotic maneuvering is confusing their targeting systems. But the Council's overwhelming numbers were beginning to tell. For every human victory, the Council could absorb losses and continue fighting. Slowly, inevitably, the human fleet was being ground down. That was when Dong-hyuk Nam made the decision that changed everything. His small ship, damaged from the neutron star encounter, faced a Council dreadnought that outmassed it by a factor of 10,000. Any rational commander would have retreated or called for support. Instead, Dong-hyuk activated his ship's emergency protocols. "All crew to escape pods," he ordered. "Except for me." "Sir," his first officer protested, "you cannot pilot the ship alone." "I will not be alone," Dong-hyuk replied. He connected his consciousness directly to the ship's hybrid systems, allowing his mind to merge partially with the vessel's computer core. What happened next had never been attempted before. As the ship crashed into the Council dreadnoughts, Dongyuk's consciousness transferred into the enemy vessel's computer systems. The impact destroyed his physical form, but his mind survived as pure information. Within minutes, he had taken control of the Council ship's weapons and turned them against nearby Council vessels. The dreadnought that had seemed invincible moments before now fought for humanity. "How is this possible?" Thexval demanded as reports flooded in. "Humans cannot exist as pure energy. They are matter-based life forms." His science officer, reviewing the data, made a discovery that chilled the Council fleet. "War Coordinator, the humans are not purely matter-based. Their technology allows consciousness transfer between matter and energy states. They can survive, in forms we thought impossible." The tide of battle began to turn. Other human commanders, inspired by Donghyuk's sacrifice, began attempting similar desperate maneuvers. Ships that should have been destroyed instead became hybrid entities, part machine, part human consciousness, fighting with capabilities that defied Council understanding. But the real turning point came when Sun Hee Yang activated humanity's secret weapon. Throughout the battle, she had been analyzing Council tactical responses, feeding their patterns into quantum computers that combined human intuition with mechanical calculation. The result was a new kind of warfare algorithm. "Chaos Cascade, activate," she ordered. Across the human fleet, tactical computers began implementing patterns designed specifically to exploit logical thinking. The more rationally the Council responded to human actions, the more chaotic and effective human tactics became. Council ships found themselves unable to predict where human vessels would appear next. Their sophisticated targeting systems, designed to calculate optimal firing solutions, could not track targets that moved according to emotional rather than logical imperatives. "Their movements make no sense," reported the Council tactical officer. "They are flying into obvious traps but somehow avoiding destruction. They are attacking our strongest positions while ignoring strategic targets." Because they are not thinking strategically, Thexval realized with growing horror. They are thinking like prey animals that have learned to hunt. The final blow came when a group of human vessels led by Commander Isul Park penetrated the Council formation and reached Thexval's flagship. Instead of attacking the massive vessel directly, they began targeting its communication arrays. "They are cutting us off from our fleet," the tactical officer reported. "Without central coordination, our ships will have to fight independently." "Independent action by Council vessels?" Thexval's mechanical voice carried disbelief. "We have not fought without central coordination for millennia. Our commanders do not know how." As communication links failed throughout the Council fleet, something unprecedented happened. Ships that had relied on orders from above for thousands of years suddenly had to make their own decisions. They had no idea how. Human vessels, trained to operate independently from the beginning, swarmed through the Council formation like sharks, among confused whales. Individual Council ships, more powerful than entire human squadrons, found themselves helpless without instructions from their commanders. The battle ended not with a massive explosion or dramatic surrender, but with a slow dissolution of Council. 1 year after the Battle of Kepler Expanse, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The crystal spires of Nexus Prime still reached toward the stars, but the chamber at their heart now held 47 seats instead of 12. Jiho Lim, humanity's first galactic counselor, stood before the assembled representatives. Around him sat beings from across the galaxy, many of whom had never been allowed to participate in galactic governance before. The old council's monopoly on power had ended. "Honored colleagues," Jiho began, his voice carrying to every corner of the chamber through translation systems that now accommodated hundreds of languages, instead of just the traditional 12. "Today marks the anniversary of our new beginning. Today we remember not just a battle, but the birth of true galactic democracy. In the year since humanity's victory, the transformation had been remarkable. Species that had been client states, or protectorates for millennia, had petitioned for full membership. The rigid hierarchy that had governed the galaxy for eons had given way to something unprecedented. Genuine cooperation between equals. but the changes went deeper than politics. Minjung Song, director of interspecies relations, had spent the year working with species across the galaxy to develop technologies the old council had declared impossible. Her office had become a center of innovation, where beings combined their unique perspectives to solve problems that had seemed unsolvable. The crystalline builders have successfully integrated human matter energy systems with their architectural techniques, she reported to a gathered audience of scientists and engineers. They are now constructing stations that exist partially in normal space and partially in hyperspace, allowing for unprecedented efficiency in interstellar transportation. The audience included beings that had never met before humanity's intervention. Energy-based species worked alongside purely physical ones. Hive minds collaborated with radical individualists. The galaxy was learning that diversity was strength, not weakness. But not everyone had adapted well to the new order. In a private meeting chamber, former council speaker Velthara sat across from Jiho Lim. Her energy form was dimmer than it had been during her years of absolute power, but her intelligence remained sharp. "You have turned our galaxy upside down," she said, her mental voice carrying both accusation and grudging respect. "We have turned it right side up," Jiho replied calmly. "The galaxy belongs to all its inhabitants, not just the species that happen to evolve first." "Do you know what you have unleashed?" Velthara asked. "For millions of years we maintained order. We prevented wars between species. We kept the galaxy stable." "You kept the galaxy stagnant," Jiho corrected. "You prevented growth, innovation, change. You turned the greatest civilization in universal history into a museum." Velthara's form pulsed with old anger. "And what if chaos results from your changes? What if species begin fighting among themselves? What if the stability we built collapses into darkness?" Jiho leaned forward. "Then we will adapt. We will learn. We will grow. That is what living civilizations do." The conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from Bora Kim, humanity's ambassador to former council species. Her message was brief but alarming. "Council meeting. Emergency session. Priority Alpha." Within minutes, representatives from across the galaxy gathered in the main chamber. The cause of the emergency became clear when Heian Park, now leading humanity's exploration fleets, transmitted her report from the galaxy's outer rim. "Counselors," her voice came through clearly despite the vast distance. "I am transmitting from the edge of galactic space. My exploration fleet has discovered something that changes everything we thought we knew about our galaxy's history." The main display activated, showing images of ancient structures floating in the void between galaxies. The constructions were massive, clearly artificial, and obviously very old. "These structures have been here for millions of years," Heian continued. "But they are not abandoned. Something has been living in them, watching our galaxy. And that something has noticed the changes of the past year." The assembled counselors studied the images with growing concern. The structures were unlike anything in galactic databases. They showed design principles that seemed familiar yet alien. "Analysis suggests," Heiyun's report continued, "that these beings once challenged the original council founders millions of years ago. They lost that conflict and were driven beyond the galactic edge, but they never stopped preparing for a return." Kyungmin, Han, humanity's chief of galactic defense, stood to address the chamber. "We have been monitoring unusual signals from the galactic edge for several months. What we initially dismissed as natural phenomena now appear to be communications between these structures, and something approaching from intergalactic space." The implications sank in slowly. The galaxy's new democracy faced a threat that made the old council's power struggles seem trivial by comparison. "What do they want?" asked the representative from the crystal builders. "Unknown," replied Kyungmin. "But their approach trajectory suggests they are heading directly for the galactic core, for Nexus Prime." Former war coordinator Thexval, now serving as a military advisor to the reformed council, provided tactical analysis. "The energy signatures we are detecting suggest technologies that surpass even our most advanced systems. If these beings are hostile, the galaxy faces extinction." But Jiho Lim remained calm. We have faced extinction before. The old council thought they could destroy humanity's future. Instead, we changed the galaxy. Now we face a new challenge. He activated the chamber's communication systems, broadcasting to every world in the galaxy. Citizens of the galaxy, he said, we face a new challenge together. Unknown beings from beyond our galactic borders approach with intentions we do not understand. They may be peaceful explorers seeking contact. They may be conquerors seeking dominance we do not know. What we do know is this. We are no longer the same galaxy they left millions of years ago. We are no longer divided between rulers and subjects. We are united in diversity, strong in cooperation, adaptive in crisis. If these beings seek peaceful contact, they will find partners willing to learn and grow together. If they seek conquest, they will discover that this galaxy has learned to defend itself through unity, not oppression. The broadcast reached every inhabited world in the galaxy. Species that had never communicated before began coordinating defense preparations. Technologies that had been developed in isolation were shared freely between former enemies. But the most significant response came from an unexpected source. Velthara approached Jiho after the emergency session ended. Her energy form had regained much of its former brightness. Human, she said, you have taught us something we had forgotten. You have reminded us that survival requires adaptation, not stagnation. We learned from our mistakes, Jiho replied. Perhaps the old council can learn from theirs. Perhaps, Velthara agreed. I offer the services of my people to the new galactic defense. Our energy manipulation technologies may prove useful against whatever approaches. Similar offers came from across the galaxy. The hegemony offered their manufacturing capabilities. The builders provided construction expertise, the nest provided coordination systems. Species that had been enemies for millennia united against a common threat. In the months that followed, the galaxy prepared for contact with beings that had once been powerful enough to challenge the original council founders. But this was not the same galaxy those ancient enemies had left behind. This galaxy had learned humanity's most important lesson. Strength came not from individual power, but from adaptive cooperation. Deep space monitoring stations detected the approaching vessels. 3 months later, they were enormous, larger than entire star systems, and they moved with purposes that seemed to bend space itself around them. But they were not approaching a galaxy of subjects ruled by ancient overlords. They were approaching a galaxy of equals, united in diversity, ready to adapt to whatever challenges they might face. Humanity had been dismissed as just humans by the old council. The galaxy had learned what that really meant. A species that never stopped evolving, never stopped adapting, never stopped growing. Now, as ancient enemies returned to reclaim what they had lost, they would discover that the galaxy had learned to grow as well. The message that went out to meet the approaching fleet was simple, transmitted in every language known to galactic civilization. Welcome to our galaxy. We are ready to meet you as equals, to learn from you as partners, or to face you as united defenders of our home. The choice is yours. It was signed not by any individual leader, but by the collective will of 47 species working together. The galaxy had learned humanity's greatest gift, the courage to change, to grow, and to face the unknown with unity rather than fear. Whatever came next, they would meet it together. They would meet it as equals. They would meet it as beings who had learned that evolution never ends. The old council had called them just humans and dismissed them as primitives. Now the galaxy understood. Being human meant never accepting that. Growth was finished, never believing that adaptation was complete, never surrendering the right to become something greater than what you were before. The approaching fleet would soon learn what that meant. The galaxy was ready.